with the Jets announcing Scott Arniel as the new head coach of Winnipeg's NHL team. We get right to it and welcome in, fresh off of his introductory press conference, the new head coach of the Winnipeg Jets, Scott Arniel. Scott, welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk for the first time as the head coach. How does that sound? Head coach of the Winnipeg Jets, Scott Arniel.
Yeah, hey, Hustler. You know what? It's awesome. It does. It has a nice ring to it, and hopefully we hear it for a long, long time.
It was hard not to feel the excitement from yourself as well as the organization in making this announcement today. What have the last kind of 3-4 weeks been like for you as you interviewed and waited to hopefully get the call that we're doing a press conference on Monday morning and you're the guy?
Yeah, you got to talk to my wife. I guess I've been pretty tuned out here for the last 3 weeks. On my honey-do list chores at home there, I kind of maybe didn't get anywhere near them. But no, it's, you know what, since we lost Colorado and then Rick made his announcement to us, to the coaching staff, and then I talked to Chevy the following day, you know, I knew I had to interview again, and it was more of getting myself prepared for that. And that's really what I've been doing. It's been kind of grinding that out, getting set, went doing the interview itself, and then, you know, waiting a few days to find out where we were going to go with it. And you know what, it all came about, and certainly an announcement on Friday. I might say that the announcement on Friday and then to the press conference today was probably the toughest stretch, because I knew you media guys would be, you know, having the most difficult questions. So no, but it's been great. It's been an awesome situation.
Well, I was all over Brownie. I'm like 3:45 on Friday. We just finished the damn show, Scott. Give us throw us a bone here. But listen, it gave everyone a lot of chance to talk about it over the course of the weekend, and then, of course, the big official announcement today. Scott, I mean, your history with Winnipeg and the National Hockey League goes back to 1981. How special is it for you to get this opportunity in the place where you started your career and a place that you've called home for the majority of your adult life?
Yeah, it's extremely special. You know, coming here as an 18-year-old kid, it was about, you know, living a dream, making it to the NHL and playing those first games, scoring those first goals, you know, being a part of, you know, a team here. And then obviously coming back around again to finish my career with the Moose, starting my coaching career. It's been a huge circle. But now to be here to step in, I mean, it was thrilling for me to come back 2 years ago as the associate coach, to come in here on Rick's staff, to be back as a Winnipeg Jet. You know, I went being kind of watching what had happened over the years with the Jets moving and, you know, then coming back and, you know, secretly kind of following them all these years, even though I was working in another organization, to be here today, to get this, you know, get the honor to become and call myself the next head coach of the Winnipeg Jets it's special, and special for me, special for my family, and really excited for the opportunity.
Scott, obviously the head coach role is different than an associate coach. I mean, you know, if someone asked you, what do you bring to the table? How do you describe yourself as a head coach? I mean, what would you say to that?
Well, I like to think I'm extremely detailed, you know, I'm personable. I think that, you know, one thing I've learned, especially over the last 8, 9, 10 years, you know, the relationship building part of it is so important, whether that's with players or, you know, with your coaching staff, whether it's management. That's been a big part of it. I think that's part of my, you know, sort of my, who I am today is just, you know, having a real good feel for who I'm working with, who I'm coaching, trying to be, you know, work as hard as I possibly can to get players' answers, to, you know, to answer our team's questions, you know, find ways to win in this league, which is a tough league to win in. And, you know, I think I've grown tremendously over the years, and it's, you know, it's just something that you're always evolving to do.
You know, you mentioned the growth over the years. I remember you speaking. I don't know whether this was a conversation that we had or it was in some sort of a press conference, but you know, you were speaking about your experience in Columbus, and I believe the quote was, you said you went there thinking that you had all the answers, and at the end of the first year, you realized that you didn't even have the questions. How much more prepared are you for the head coach role in the National Hockey League today than you were at that point? And you know what you which obviously speaks to, you know, the people that you've worked with and what you've been doing for the last 12 years in between.
Yeah, I'd like to think I'm light years ahead of that. I was pretty green going to that. Somebody told me once, yeah, there's only 32 jobs. You got to take what's there. At the end of the day, our whole staff, we were green. And you know what? I was learning on the job about a lot of that stuff. But at the end of the day, I've now had the opportunity to work with some fantastic people, whether it's coaches, management, players. They've helped shape me. They've helped, it's been a big part of my rebranding of myself. I've had to, really do a lot of digging, not only personally, but also digging and, with, coaching and play what it takes in this league. That was a tough pill to swallow. Getting fired I'd never had it happen before. So it was a rude awakening, and all it's done is driven me that much harder to get here today where I'm at, to get this second chance. And I just look at, and I've talked to a lot of coaches that have gotten a second chance. Some have got third chances, and I got some great knowledge, some great insight, and they've had success, what they've done different. And so I'm going to move forward with some of those things that I've heard and, some of the things I've learned and make sure that I do the right things this time.
Scott, earlier today, you mentioned those, the people that you've worked with, but also mentioned the league and the player. How different is the NHL today than it was 10 years ago? And how different is today's player than, even as short as a decade ago?
Oh yeah. Tenfold, I look at, I would say that, when I was back at that, that stretch 12 years ago, it was still, coach barked, the players listened, and that was it, and you do it my way. Now there's a lot more give and take. The players want to be a part of decisions. They want to be a part of, they have a bigger voice. It's about the relationships. It's making sure that, that you do, if you're going to ask a player, I need you to do this, this, and this, that you've had that conversation before. It isn't something that's dropped in their lap. And I think that relationship building, kids today, that they expect it. They've probably been going through it wherever they've been to get to this point, and it's just it's something that you want to make sure that you're on top of when it comes to the game itself. This game changes in our league in the NHL yearly, whether it's systems, whether it's approach to games, whether the analytics side of things, whether, like we just talked about, the players, how they change. So you got to make sure you evolve and you make those changes as well, that you stay current and you stay atop of things.
You mentioned analytics. That was something that came on, up earlier. Maybe just, your thoughts on analytics, but also how in tune today's player is to that sort of advanced stat that probably wasn't even on the radar, guys, even, 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, what I really got in Washington when I went there after they won the Cup in 2018, it was a part of a process that they had started, something that, they had a analytic team that was in place. They were trying to build something that could work itself, not just, a lot of teams have it in the sense of for draft picks and for free agency and using it that way. But it became a situation where now, how do you use it for your team that's you have right there? And how do you get the advantage on the opposition teams because it's such a close league. And so that was just my first real interest to it. It became a part of what we did quite a bit. It was Todd Reardon, then it was Peter Laviolette. And then when I came here, Rick had some exposure to it in Dallas, and having a staff here that already had gotten, the Jets had already have their own kind of analytics staff that was in place. We just need to amalgamate it all and get it all so it's player friendly. You can't just walk in and hand players analytics. I mean, there's so much information out there that we have to make sure that it's stuff that's going to help the player and it's not going to get them. I don't want any player going out in the ice and thinking, I have to start on this side of the ice or I have to be in this spot here to make my numbers go. It has to be a thing that helps our team to have success and just to kind of get ahead of the curve, maybe have that edge on opposition teams, maybe whether they always break out on a certain spot or this is where their danger areas are. They're really good off the rush, and those things we do use over the course of the year.
Scott Arniel is the new head coach of the Winnipeg Jets with us on Winnipeg Sports Talk. I remember back to your times with the Moose working with Randy Carlyle and, and speaking with the number of players, I mean, the dichotomy of you two was kind of like a good cop and a bad cop. I mean, Randy could be, I mean, a real hard ass.
So I was the good cop. Is that
You
what
were the good cop.
Okay,
I mean, you were a
just
guy
checking.
that a lot
Just
of guys
checking.
credited was sort of building them up a little bit when they've been maybe taking it a little bit from Randy. How would you tell us a bit more about the role of associate with Rick Bowness and how you worked with Rick and how that role changes significantly going into Rick's office as the new head coach?
Yeah, you know what? The one thing about Rick, he gave me tremendous say, tremendous leeway. Whether it's systems, just dealing with players, dealing in meetings, presenting meetings, all that stuff. Yeah, he was. There's lots of times where he called on me to take some things over, and that's you love that certainly as assistant coach to be and have that responsibility. It's just. I think it's all part of making sure that, if you're going to hire a staff, that you're using your staff to the fullest. First you're going to hire them because you think they have a quality that they're going to bring to the team and they're going to help you have success. And that's what I'm after. The one thing about Columbus, and no disrespect to the coaches, they're all great coaches now. But we were all green. It was all something for all of us. First time in the NHL. Being at it again the second time, having a chance to bring in a couple of new guys. For me, it's going to be, making sure that I use these guys to the fullest to help them make me a better coach as well.
Listen, I mean, you were a part of a group that, for the last 2 years has gone from, a spot that I think the team really, had some reflection, realized they needed to move out of, and 2 really solid seasons. But you didn't have the playoff success. And, God knows we've talked, and I'm sure you've been spending a lot of time talking about, the Colorado series. For a team that's been so successful through the regular season and building off that, is there an easy answer as to what needs to happen to become a better playoff team? Or is there a lot of things that go into it? And sometimes learning lessons the hard way, which I would suggest maybe has happened for the Winnipeg Jets in the last couple of years, can help shape that future of the team that hopefully spends a little bit more time playing in the spring and summer.
Yeah. You know what? 2 years ago when we came in here, there was a lot on our plate. There's a lot of things that we had to get in order. And we've been kind of, as a coaching staff, as management, we've been kind of checking the boxes here. As you said, the playoffs, that is a big box that still needs some work. We've got to, recognize that, as a coaching staff, how we preach it moving forward. That's a different season. When you get into the playoffs, that's a whole new ballgame. We ran into a very experienced team that just won the Cup 2 years ago. They got, I don't want to say embarrassed, but they lost, no disrespect to Seattle. They lost to Seattle in a series they felt they probably should have won. And they were extremely hungry, and not that we shouldn't have been, but they also were extremely well schooled at what it takes to play at this time of year. That's still the next lesson for us. That's the next part. I mean, like you said, it's 2 years. We've done some good things. We had a real good start last year to the season and stumbled in the second half, made the playoffs, had some key injuries, and we're out against the Stanley Cup champions in the first round. This year we put together 82 games, and then obviously we didn't have the success in the playoffs. That's the step. We got to keep going. First, we got to make sure that we eliminate 8 teams and we're back in the playoffs. But now it's like, and that'll be part of what we do in practice. That'll be part of my message daily. That'll be part of player pushing player, everybody getting better 5 to 10%, so that when we get into these playoffs, that we're not living that what would happen in the last 2 years. That we become that team that's confident, and we're the ones that are hungrier, and we're the team that's playing and sacrificing like we need to do at that time of year.
Earlier today, I mean, you spoke to the importance of special teams. And listen, I mean, you were a part of a big turnaround in year one with the PK, I believe, being 7th in the National Hockey League. It took a bit of a step back this year, as did the power play. Just thoughts on how this team can improve and how much of a focus that'll be with you and eventually the staff that you add over the next little while.
Yeah, no, it'll be important. Obviously, first in the hiring of that, we're bringing in, a couple of new guys, and I expect those guys, or hope those guys are going to be a big part of that. Especially teams are key in this league. You look at the top elite teams. Like I said, we want to stay in that category. We want to stay in that, sort of known as a real top team in this league. Especially teams are huge, and You look where Carolina sat with both theirs, New York where they sat with both theirs, Florida. Some of these teams that are still playing. It's important. It's your specialty teams can win you games in December when you're having 3 and 4 nights. It can win you games in January, whatever it might be when the schedule is really tough. You need that, and it has to be something that you gain confidence from. That your players are they take responsibility for it. It's something that they have a lot of pride in. And I know our guys do. And, we slipped this year in our PK. And for me, that's a shot to me. I'll take a lot of the blame for that. I'm going to make sure that, that we look at everything this summer. We'll look at the top teams. The one thing about our league, like we talked earlier, it evolves every year. And there's some really good power play coaches out there. And they recognize that PK has changed a little bit the last couple of years, the style, the sort of the looks. So, we got to stay one step ahead of that power play. So we got some work to do this summer, and the same thing with our power play. I've looked at some of these teams that are at the top, and there's some areas I'm already thinking about that I'd like to look at. I got to talk to our players that are on that as well, and sell that to them that this is where the kind of top teams are at, and some of the things that we can take from them. When our power play was healthy this year, when we had when Velarde was healthy, and then we got Monahan in there, it was a real threat, and it really was. We had lost Casey for an extended period of time, and Scheif as well, and just having those guys all together, it can be very powerful when we need it to be, and we'll just have to make sure we move forward in the right direction.
A big part of special teams will be the rest of your coaching staff, the assistants. It was announced earlier today by Kevin Shoveldayoff that Brad Lauer was moving on. How busy has the phone been over the weekend after it was announced that you are the next head coach from prospective assistants? And what are you looking for in the individuals that you round out your staff?
Yeah, you know what? Since Friday, my phone blew up, and some guys that I expected I might get a call from, and some others that were nice surprises. I think that as many coaches have been let go over the last couple of years, there's a lot of guys that are looking for opportunities, and that's that's good. The other side too is all teams are trying to hire as well right now. So I got to make sure that that's my next project today, tomorrow. I want to get going. I've already touched base with a few guys, but I do when it comes to the staff. I have nothing written in stone that it has to be an older veteran kind of guy. I mean, I'm looking for sharp minds. I'm looking guys that work hard. I mean, experiences there. I love that as well. But there's some great young names out there too. So I'm going to go through the process. I got an idea what I'm after. Certainly, I need somebody to replace me in the sense of running the defense, which is a big component to our hockey team. Big part of our success the last couple of years has been kind of our back end as well. So that'll be a key, penalty kill and power play, in those areas as well. So I got some work to do, and I need to get to that as quick as possible.
Scott, have you heard from many of the men that you'll be coaching next year as the head knock?
Yeah, I've heard from almost everybody. That part's been great. I've talked to them all, and mentioned that I will have deeper conversation next week. And it's one thing the last couple of years. The part about having, which is unfortunate was for Rick and Judy, but it also allowed me to get behind the bench, and it changed a little bit of the dynamic of my relationship with a lot of players, and where I was maybe just hired to work with the D and work with the penalty kill. It really allowed me to kind of get out and have conversations and really have good dialogue with the rest of our team, and it helped me really build relationships with our guys, the forwards, just everybody. And so I'm excited about that. Those guys are, they've been some real nice messages and had some real good chats so far. And the other thing I got to make a shout out to is Sean Monahan. I know he's a UFA, but he just had a baby boy this morning, little Leo. So they got a great message from him, a great picture of him and his son. Welcome him to the Jets family.
Happy times all around, and we'll see if you're even more happier if Sean Monahan might be returning to the Jets right now. I guess this next month, important to get this out of the way and move forward right now. You kind of mentioned, the timeline, not only for the business that you guys have to do as the Winnipeg Jets and a coaching staff as you get ready for the draft in the off season, but there's a lot of competition out here for names right now, considering I can't even remember a crazier offseason when it came to openings in the NHL, just with how many chairs there were. But part of getting out ahead is the fact that, there's going to be some guys that I'm sure that you're interested in that are probably going to have more than one interview.
Yeah, well, it's already happened. I already know there's guys talking. But the biggest thing for me is that I'm not waiting for us to be the second or third or fourth choice. And that's what I've said to guys, that if I'm ready to go here and you're ready to go, we're not dragging this out. And, I've talked to Chevy where, he's in a position ready to, and when he has to step in, he's going to do that. And like I said, I think we have, the one thing is that we have a lot of coaches that realize that we have a really good hockey team and they would like to be a part of it. And, so that's just for me, make sure that I do my due diligence with each guy, that I, get my batting order in shape here and make sure that now I start to knock them off as quick as possible.
Did you talk to Bones over the last little bit? And what'd you think of him on the tube as well? What did he have to say?
Well, I was pretty surprised that he wasn't in the media pool today there sitting out in front of me. But no, I thought he was fantastic. I told him, though, he's giving away all our secrets on how we play. He was showing too much video there of the other team. But no, I thought he was good. I thought him and Juice, Kevin Bieksa, I thought those two were great together. Obviously, you can tell they have a relationship from Vancouver and they've worked together in the past. I thought they were a great 1-2 punch there. And we'll see. I'm sure we'll see a little bit more of them down the road.
But as far as your relationship with Bones, I mean, these last couple of years, not only, taking advantage of unfortunate circumstances to, I think, maybe have a step up or a leg up at the new job as the head coach. But I'd imagine 5 decades doing what he's been doing probably has made you a better coach as well.
Yeah, we go back. We were teammates at one time. We were together here in training camp. He became my assistant coach. Then he became my head coach in Boston. And then obviously the Canuck Moose scenario when he was there and I was here. We've been in close contact over the years. We butted heads in the East when I was in New York and Washington, and him in Tampa. So, him and I, we've kept close over the years. We had always talked about, I had mentioned to him, because he wasn't a head coach. If there's ever a chance where I became a head coach, that he'd be the number one guy I'd call. And, he had said the same thing to me, and, it worked itself out that way last 2 years ago. And I'm a better coach for it. He's given me so much insight, so much knowledge to be a head coach that I'm very thankful for how he's helped me.
Scott, listen, personally, it's great to see you get this opportunity. You've, a very familiar face to Winnipeg Jet fans, anyone that was involved with the Moose for over those years. And I know how hard you worked for it. Just on the way out, message from the new head coach to fans about the off season and the upcoming season, your excitement, but also the direction of this team building off a 52 win season with some unfinished business come playoff time.
Yeah, just the passion. It's amazing. I ran into a guy from Red Lake who's got season tickets. I ran into people from down at the U.S. border that come in every single game. Weather, doesn't matter what it is, all kinds of people. I go to the grocery store here. I get people come up to me all the time, give me their opinion, give me their assistant coaching view of things. And I love it. It's it shows the passion that, and I'm so thankful for our fans. And, all through, and I had, like I mentioned in the press conference there, I love it when we're on the road and, down in Florida or out in LA or we might be out east somewhere. And all of a sudden that Canadian anthem goes and everybody's hollering True North there in the middle of it. I love it. Our following is still strong. And, I've said all along, my dream has always been to win a Stanley Cup. And it would be so special to do it here in Winnipeg and Manitoba and for our fans. And that's the goal.
Scott, congratulations again. Thank you so much for the time. All the best to you and the family and the rest of the team as you get ready. Well, I'm sure we'll see you down in Vegas for the draft. And then looking forward to September and seeing you and your staff get to work.
All right, Hustler. It's always great to talk to you, pal.